What did you do that was so funny it still makes you laugh to this day? My story might be a bit controversial, but it never fails to make me smile when I recall it. For 16 years, I've worked in a care home for the elderly in the city. The shifts are long, 12 hours, of hands to hold, meals served, clothing changed, and voices calling my name. It's not an easy job, and it's not a highly paid job either. But there's something fulfilling about making someone, in the last years of their life, smile. I've learned a lot about the people I take care of and have come to love every one of them. Perhaps ironically, my walk to and from work, which I make every workday rain or shine, takes me through a cemetery. I realize most people avoid cemeteries, especially after dark, as it is in the winter. They take the longer route. But me, 16 years of passing through this place, and I can't imagine my evenings without it. The path from the west gate to the east gate cuts at least 10 minutes off my walk home, but it's not just the convenience. The gate squeaked in its usual way as I nudged it open, a sound so familiar it almost felt like a greeting. The gravel crunched under my shoes, slow and rhythmic, as the air cooled, and the city sounds thinned out behind me. By the time I reached the first cluster of stones, I felt like I could finally breathe. "Evening, Frida," I said, passing a stone near the oak tree. She'd been a resident of mine. We lost her to old age 7 years ago. "Hope you're still keeping Ethel in line," I said. And a few steps further, "There you are, Mary, looking sharp as ever. We lost her 3 years ago." And then the one I occasionally lingered at, George. His headstone was plain granite, just a name and dates. Nothing flowery or elaborate. George had never asked for much at the home, just a hot cup of coffee to start the day, and bacon for breakfast every morning. The gravel crunched on. I passed rows of newer stones, polished granite with etched photographs, and solar lights flickering faintly. The modern ones always looked out of place to me, too bright, too insistent. The older stones had character. They slouched and cracked, grew moss beards, leaned into the earth like they were tired. That night the moon was just a sliver, enough to make the stones glow like pale teeth in the dark. I let the cool seep into me, carrying away the heaviness of the day, the resident who'd wept when her son didn't visit, the man who couldn't remember his wife had just visited 10 minutes before. By the time I exited at the east gate, I felt calm, I felt grounded, and my workday stresses were behind me. My coworkers never understood. "You walk home through the graveyard? At night?" they'd ask, eyes big, voices pitched like I was announcing something insane. I'd just shrug. "Honestly, it's the safest place in town. Nobody bothers me in there." 16 years, twice every workday, rain or shine. It was a ritual. When I first started this job, I did avoid it. The first few weeks, I took the long way around, adding 10 minutes to an already long walk at the end of a long shift. My stomach would not at the thought of passing through rows of headstones after dark. But then, one night, I was just too tired, too wrung out to take the long way. I pushed open the cemetery gate and told myself I'd keep my eyes straight ahead, not glance at a single name, just get through. I failed, of course. I've gotten to know the names I'm passing. I've wondered about their lives, but I'm simply used to this now. At this point, it's like I'm passing old neighbors, as if I might wave hello. I know all the names, and those who I knew in life I still speak to sometimes as if they could hear me. I'm sure people would think I'm strange for it. I catch myself laughing about something Mrs. Caldwell said, and I share it with George, as if he's listening. I adjust flowers on a stranger's grave the way I'd straighten a crooked picture frame. I don't feel the way I imagined I would feel walking through here. At this point, I feel welcomed. I feel at home. Here's where we come to the part that still makes me laugh to this day. Maybe I was mean to scare already scared teenagers, but I did it, and judge me as you will. One night headed home, I was only a short way down the path when I heard sounds behind me. I turned and noticed 3 figures huddled near the wrought iron gate. Their silhouettes blended together, whispering, giggling. I turned to walk back, and as I got closer, things became clear. 3 teenaged girls. They clung to each other like shipwreck survivors, one pushing another toward the gate, the other digging in her heels. I caught the flash of pale sneakers, the gleam of a phone screen lighting anxious faces. I sighed softly. Teenagers at the cemetery after dark, nothing new, but these 3 didn't look like they'd come for mischief. They looked stuck. I adjusted the strap of my bag and called out, "You girls all right?" 3 heads whipped toward me, eyes wide, mouths open. For a second they looked ready to bolt. Then the tallest one found her voice. We need to go through," she stammered, "but it's creepy, like really creepy." Her friends nodded, clutching each other's sleeves. I smiled, the kind of smile I use at the home when residents panic over nothing. "Well, I'm headed that way too. Why don't you just walk with me?" They exchanged quick glances, as if deciding whether I was safer than the cemetery itself. Finally, the shortest one, with bright eyes and messy hair, said, "Okay, thanks." I introduced myself as we stepped inside. "I'm Eva." "Emily," said the tall one, her voice a little steadier now. "Freya," mumbled the girl with the messy hair. "Courtney," added the third, in a near whisper, looking pale and clutching her phone like a lifeline. The gate squeaked shut behind us, and I could almost feel them flinch. "Don't worry," I said, leading the way. "It's just a path, and it's quicker than walking around." Their footsteps shuffled beside me, but just slightly behind me, uneven and skittish. They whispered too loudly to each other, the way people do when they're trying to convince themselves they're not afraid. After a few yards, Emily's voice piped up, thin but curious. "You're not scared walking here at night?" I chuckled. "Not anymore. I walk through here every workday, twice on those days actually. 16 years now." "16 years?" one of the others blurted. "Freya, I think." That's so weird." "It's not weird," Emily hissed at her, but her tone wavered. "No, really," Freya insisted, darting glances at the rows of stones. "Like, all these people, all these graves, it's freaky. Like, all the dead people just lying there." "They're not lying there," I corrected gently. "Not in the way you think." There was silence for a moment. Then Emily managed to ask in a tiny voice, "What do you mean?" I glanced at Ethel Stone as we passed, resisting the urge to greet her with the girls listening. "I just mean, death isn't scary once you've seen it up close. It's peaceful. People think cemeteries are full of ghosts clawing to get out or something, but no, it's just quiet here. It's peaceful." Emily looked at me. "You sound like you know." I shrugged. "I've seen a lot of people go, and I walk through here every night on my way back. If there were anything to be afraid of, I would know by now." That made them fall silent for a stretch. Their shoes sounded a little more regular against the gravel, their breaths slowing at my reassurance. The path narrowed slightly, shadows stretching long across it. Freya shivered dramatically, arms wrapped around herself. "Still, graves everywhere, like they're watching us." "They're only looking out of curiosity," I said casually. I tried not to smile at her unease, but Mirth was tugging at the corners of my mouth. These girls reminded me of myself years ago when I'd first hurried through this same path with my heart in my throat. "How do you know?" Freya asked. "I just do," I said. "I hate it here. It's scary," Courtney said, joining the conversation. I let a pause linger and then said lightly, "I used to feel that way too, when I was alive." The words slipped out, smooth as silk. For a heartbeat, silence, and then chaos. All three shrieked in unison, the sound ripping through the stillness. They grabbed onto one another so hard they nearly toppled, but Freya bolted forward, dragging the others with her. Their sneakers pounded the gravel as they tore down the path, shrieking and eventually laughing as if in giddy hysteria. I slowed my pace, chuckling softly to myself, letting their echoes fade toward the far gate. I stopped at George's stone and laid my palm against the cool granite. "I hope you enjoyed that," I murmured, amused. "Scared them good, didn't I?" The stone gave no answer, but I could almost hear George's chuckle in the still air. "See you tomorrow," I said, giving the stone a pat before continuing my walk home. I often think about those girls and wonder how they tell the story of the ghost woman who walked them through the cemetery. I wonder if they eventually realized I was actually alive, or if they still tell a real-life ghost story. Hopefully now, either way, they look back with a smile on their face. I still laugh to myself about it and sometimes mention it to George on my way home. I've never seen them again, but I will never forget the looks on their faces when they thought I was a ghost. Thank you for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed this reading, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. Leave us a comment and let us know what kind of story you'd like to hear next. This has been Tales by Rachel, where we breathe life into every story.